Well, hello everybody. Let's get started. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for joining us for today's Go Global webinar series webinar focusing on Missouri's online global program. The core subject today is website localization and international online marketing for Missouri exporters. So thank you for joining us. My name is John Worthington. I am the CEO here at IBT Online, and it is my pleasure to introduce today's webinar. Today we're pleased to be diving deep into and presenting on the subject of Missouri's online global program, a new program to help Missouri exporters. And we want to do this, of course, in the context of Missouri. And therefore, just a few facts, some figures, some stats to explain where we're situated in this context. Missouri exports well over $14 billion. These are 2016 numbers worth of goods and services, and that is up 2.5% compared to 2015. So these are good and growing numbers. 4 industries exceed $1 billion in exports and account for over 66% of all 2016 exports. That's transportation and equipment, chemicals, food and kindred products, as well as machinery. Interestingly, you might be interested to know that Canada is, guess what, the number one market for Missouri exports. Over 5 billion subject of goods go to Canada, followed by Mexico with almost 3 billion and China at just under 1 billion. Closely followed by Japan, Belgium, Germany, Korea, the UK, Australia, and France. So there you go. Those are the top 10 markets, and we have a very educational webinar for you prepared by the IBT Online and Missouri teams. They've been hard at work pulling together information, the useful stats and takeaways to help you be successful in these challenging export markets, and using today's technology to help you grow your export into those markets and others. Before we start, a moment or two of housekeeping. Do know that this webinar is one in a series. It's called our Go Global webinar series, all about helping companies grow sales, brands, and businesses globally. The Go Global webinar series is over 3 years old now. So if you want to have a quick look back, go to www.ibt.onl/resources and you'll find a catalog there of available on-demand webinars and other assets to help you grow your exports. Going forward, there's also in the same resources / you'll find the webinars going forward. This webinar will be some 45 minutes long. I will be introducing, and then I will be handing over to Susanna and the Missouri team. There will be 4 polls, so please be ready and participate. There will be time for questions at the end, so do submit your questions. We will gather them up, and at the very end we will be asking today's presenters to respond to the questions. There is also a chat box. And at the end of the webinar there will be a brief survey, so please do stay online for the 3 or 4 questions. And finally, do know that we will be sending you a copy directly to your email box on Friday when the webinar has been prepared by our back office. So sit back, enjoy the webinar as we go forward. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's presenters. So on your left you see Susanna there, Susanna of IBT Online. Susanna is our Director for Client Services. Susanna heads up our Global Operations team, helping companies online using online services to grow their exports. If Susanna, when she presents, sounds like American, well, guess what? It's not surprising, despite being half German. Susanna has been mostly educated and worked in the US over in New York. Susanna brings a great depth of expertise in international online business and has worked with a wide spectrum of companies to help them grow their exports. Anne, 2 words on Anne. Anne has joined the Missouri Department of Economic Development in 1994, has served as State European Trade Representative, Senior Trade Specialist, Coordinator, and is currently the manager of the International Trade and Investment Office. Let's say that Anne knows Missouri. She also knows the Missouri Department of Economic Development very, very well and has never stopped working to help those companies grow their exports. I've had the huge pleasure of knowing and working with Anne for many years, and I can certainly vouch for Anne's commitment and unstoppable energy in driving forward and overseeing the daily operations of the International Trade and Investment Office. And for your information, in case you don't know, there are for Missouri offices in Brazil, Canada, China, then across Europe, Hong Kong, India, Israel, Japan, Mexico, Singapore, South Korea, and the UAE. So I don't know how Anne gets any sleep whatsoever, serving all of the Missouri companies in those international markets. But of course, it's dependent upon a great team. A part of that team, we welcome Leslie. Leslie has been our contact person as we've been developing and launching the Missouri online global team. So we thank both Anne and Leslie today. And I would just say on a personal note, IBT Online, we get the pleasure of working with many, many states, many state organizations. And I can certainly tell you that the Missouri State Organization is one of the best in the country. And the Missouri companies are very, very lucky to have the Missouri International Trade and Investment Office to serve those companies. 2 words on IBT before we really kick off the program. IBT is a private US company. IBT stands for International Business and Technology Online. We've been in business since 2002. That's over 15 years of serving website localization and international online marketing services to help companies grow their sales, grow their brands, and grow their businesses online. So today we're focused for Missouri companies, and so naturally we're focused on your target markets. So let's look at Canada, Mexico, China, and those other top markets, and we're going to be all about growing your exports online through website globalization and international online marketing. So closing out there, Susanna, I'm going to say thank you and hand over to you.
Thank you very much, John. That was a fantastic introduction, and thank you very much, Missouri, for allowing me the moment to talk about online program for Missouri exporters, and let's get right to it. But before I do, I just want Anne to say a quick word about the Missouri International Trade and Investment Office and some of the things that they offer. Anne?
Susanna, John, thank you so very much for this opportunity to work with you all and, of course, to be involved in this initiative, which we believe is so very important to our Missouri exporters. But just very briefly, as you can see, and all of our participants can see the services that we offer to Missouri companies, they're all enumerated right there on screen, so I'm not going to go through those. What I would like to say just very briefly is that we are the lead state agency, for the state of Missouri with regards to export assistance. We primarily work with small and medium-sized companies. We do have a great global footprint all over the world, and literally boots on the ground that can assist our Missouri firms to identify those business partners that are ideal for their requirements and needs. Now, all of the assistance that we provide, which is substantial in a number of ways, is literally hindered without having that online and very good presence that companies should have. And that's why we're so excited at the prospects of being able to offer this up to our Missouri companies to where they can have that optimization of their website in the local markets, but more importantly, though, have a reimbursement for this particular program through our GMAP program, our Global Market Access Program, which adds a little incentive as well, too. So without further ado, we're very excited at the prospect of working with IBT Online. We look forward to working with Missouri companies and getting a number of folks in the program and making sure that all of their marketing tools are at hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, very much, and we're going to now dive right straight in. So what we're going to do is sort of, tell you a little bit sort of about why we believe Missouri exporters really need international websites and localized websites. Then I'm going to say, what are localized websites? Then how can you use them? Once you have them, what do you do with them? How do you grow your business? How do you nurture your brand with these localized websites? And fourth section really just about the actual program, the nuts and bolts of it, the contacts, and then we have left a few minutes left over for some questions. So there you go. Let's get started. I wanted to start out actually with this slide here. Way too much info, I know, but it just shows graphically the importance today of the digital world. We all know that you have to have a website, but internationally, globally, for your export markets, do you still have to have a website? The answer is yes. There's a report about a year ago from McKinsey, which I think set it out very well. These screen grabs are from that report. It just really shows the extent today of B2B, B2C, B2 government, B2 education, B2 everything, and also how that meant that this flow of digital information, which after all didn't even exist 15 years ago, is now actually a larger delta, a larger impact on GDP than the actual goods and trade, goods bought and sold. And you see this in a lot of numbers coming out, and I think that these two graphs just showed quite well. I would point out, and I quite like pointing this out because I'm sitting in the UK, that the largest single flow is between the US and Europe for that. And the other thing I think worth pointing out is how the cross-border bandwidth is still looking to grow by another 9 times within the next sort of 3-4 years. So this is not something that's stopping or slowing. It's something that's actually continuing to grow at these exponential rates. So what does that mean? It means that the very large companies, you know, with big, deep pockets, can go out there and build websites for every possible market that they have, and they tweak them, they change them a tiny bit, they just alter them to make sure that they speak to their target markets. So this, for example, is Coca-Cola, India, Brazil, and it just shows you sort of, you know, this is what if you're a Coca-Cola drinker and you go into Brazil to Coca-Cola, you will see images which speak to you, obviously the language in Portuguese. So, you know, it resonates with the local target audience. Now, big companies are all doing this. We've looked at the Fortune 100 companies, 100 largest companies in the world. 100% of them have localized websites. 100% of them have websites that function in their target export markets. 99% of them have very strong social media as well. So they have Facebook pages, they have Twitter accounts, they have Weibo, they have Naver, whatever it is in their target markets. Now, we thought this is fantastic for really big companies. What about small companies? And then I think, again, there's way too much on this slide, but our very firm belief is that the online tools allow small companies, mid-cap companies, to punch above their weight and compete directly on export markets with global companies, so that a small, medium-sized enterprise, an SME, can actually have a localized website and compete in that export market on a level playing field with large companies, at least on the online sphere. The software now exists, the hardware now exists, the technology, and the know-how now exists. And that means Missouri companies can use online tools that we can provide, and that Anne and her team are willing to fund and help you get on board with, to really capture this and push it forward so that you can drive your business, grow your sales, nurture your brand, grow your business internationally. And that's really sort of my 3 slides about why we think this is seriously important for you. John, if we have a time for a quick poll, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely. Here we go. So please, everybody, here we go. Is your chance to participate. And what we're interested, we'd love to know and then share with you, of course, what do you think? Which export markets are you most interested in? Is it NAFTA? Is it Europe? Is it the Southeast Asia? Is it China? Is it the other? tell me, where is it that is important for you? Now we're getting, I'll tell you what, it's real simple. It's 100% NAFTA, and Europe is coming in as being the second 50%. So you reflect, actually, it's interesting, of course, you're reflecting the Missouri numbers that we saw earlier. So NAFTA is the top, followed by Europe. So thank you very much. With that, I'm actually going to give the little horn here so we can go. There you go. That's my closing signal. So the first poll is closed, and I'm handing back to Susanna.
Thank you, John. Great horn effects there. Right. So my conclusion, my summary of all this is just basically what are localized websites. This is what we're going to talk about now. Localized websites are customized websites that allow you to speak directly to your target market, to your target export market, to be understandable to that target export market, optimized for local search engines. And now we're going to talk about what that actually means. So I think the best way of looking at this is to say, what are search engines and how can they be localized? Search engines, you know the one in the States, basically, it's Google. Google has about a 67% market share in the United States, but there are other ones in other markets. One of the largest is Baidu in China, although there are two others in China as well, which are quite large. Otherwise, South Korea is Naver, Yandex is for Russia. So different search engines function in different ways. For example, Google in Europe has a 90% market share, and about a 72% share in, well, actually about a bit less than that now in the United States, and about a 90% share in places like Mexico and Brazil and Singapore. Google operates differently in different markets. So you can have the same algorithm, different results. Google in the United States is different from Google even in the UK. Same language, different results. How that means is what that means is that you have to optimize for your visitors. In essence, search engines are optimized for their visitors. That means that they're really looking at their visitors and saying, how can these visitors best function in that website? How can they best reach out and look at that website? So we have a range of techniques that help your websites to rank higher organically, and also occasionally for paid research if you have a specific way.
Susanna, shall I jump in and then do a poll there? Would that be a sort of...
Yes,
why not? This will be, so please, a poll. It's an opportunity for me to grab and say, I'm going to launch this poll, and please, again, here you go. Important question related to the subject. Do you have localized websites for your export markets? So actually, are you doing this? We're advocating the Missouri Online Global Program. Is it yes for main exports? Is it yes, but only a few export markets? Are you thinking about it, or is it no? So you know what? I mean, I'll tell you to share this with yourselves, amongst yourselves, and then with the Missouri team. It is 100% no. So I can say thank you very much indeed for sharing that with us, because this does enable us to say to you, we really do have a program which can work with you to grow your exports, grow your brands, grow your business multinationally. With that, I'm going to actually push the button and say, okay, that is poll number 2 that is done. I'm going to close it now, and I'm going to hand back to Susanna. So Susanna, are you there and ready?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, John. Apart from, so we have sort of a checklist of what we would regard as a localized website. And I've just put 2 pictures there of a road. Now, I'm sitting in the UK, and when you say a road to someone in the UK, it might not be the same as what you say to a road to someone in the United States. These are sort of subtle differences, but there are more obvious differences. That can be with regards to language, for example. You know, a truck in the US is a lorry in the UK. So if you sell things to trucks in the US, you best make sure that your website has lots of lorries in the UK. So those are the kind of differences that you have for country-specific content. It's also really important to have mobile mobile-enabled websites these days, particularly for any emerging markets like China, but even for European markets and South American markets. We also are keen to make sure that you have the right kind of content management systems and hostings. This regards the techniques and technology of websites. We can dive down deeper into that later if you have an interest in it. But basically it makes sure that the architecture, the structure of the website, the support of the website functions in multilingual environments. The next obviously are regulatory environments, data protection and things like that. That's incredibly important in places like Europe. But across the world, this is becoming a growing concern and a growing issue, even in very much emerging markets. These start becoming, and this is something that we keep a firm eye on. This is something that we will continue to look at and have a lot more. We think that will be a lot more important in the coming years. Next are domains. These are your domain names. For example, if you have a .com, that's good, that's fine. But for example, in the UK, a UK website would probably say something like .co.uk. A Swedish website would say .se. A French website would say .fr. So these are important as well. They recognize these. This allows your prospective clients to recognize you as a local, and it allows also search engines to recognize you better. And then finally, what's really important is to make sure that you use your website, that you reach out with your website and put posts there, put blogs, put social media across your website in various different platforms, whether it's Facebook or it's the local equivalent in Germany or in Russia or in Mexico, whatever it is that they use for the equivalent of your Facebook or your LinkedIn and so on. And these are all platforms that we have and we can help you navigate with. That leads me on also then to global marketing and social media. As I said earlier, it's really important to use social media to nurture your brand and to make sure that your website really lives. No good just sort of building this fantastic website, which is totally enabled, totally focused towards your target audience, all translated beautifully, and then parking it in the garage. So what you need to do is actually make it live. Put snapshots on it, add video, add testimonials, and again, the online program headed up by Missouri will help you to do that, and we can help you design some of that for you and manage that for you if you want. This is probably the most important area for generating new leads, by the way, and I'll get onto that in a case study of that in a bit later on. Before I move on, John.
Yep, I'm ready to go. So it's poll number 3. I'm launching it. Here we go. And please, everybody, how do you market internationally? So there we go. At trade shows, absolutely essential in growing exports. Online and social media is what we're talking about. There's paid advertising today. Do you go through distributors and manufacturer representatives? Are you visiting your prospective international customers? Are you doing it all? Now, let me show you some of the feedback. 30% are saying they're going to trade shows. 70% are going through distributors and manufacturer reps. That's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And let me see, 25% are traveling out there and visiting their customers. I'm going to close that poll and say thank you very much indeed. There we go. That's the end of that poll. Very interesting, and we'll be keeping that information and sharing it with you when you receive that on Friday. Susanna, back to you.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting, particularly about the distributors, and I think we'll talk about that in some of the case studies we're looking at in the thing. This is really just a slide to say, you know, you're not alone. We've done this before. Several of the states are now embracing this. Many companies are now doing this, and these are mid-cap companies that are doing this. These are not the Coca-Colas of the world. These are companies who are exporting with localized websites with the help of their states, and are small mid-cap companies. And they're going internationally using localized websites. Here are some examples. Now this is a company, and basically, you know, he's a privately owned company, it's mid-cap. His real challenge is that the product he does, this company produces, is very tech. It's very, very specific, very niche, hard to understand. You have to have a PhD in electrical engineering to understand it. A lot of his in-market partners don't always have that ability. Building a Chinese website for him had an amazing and fantastic immediate effect. It allowed his in-market partners, his distributors, to go and show their prospective clients and say, look, this is what we mean, this is what we do. And the response was very direct. They allowed them to really, you know, close some deals very quickly. So this is a website that supports in-market distributors. Distributors are therefore contributing. They're allowed to use that website and say, this is what we do. This is how we do it, and that is a fantastic tool that you can give to your best distributors online. Next, I want to talk another part about supporting distributors is how to find distributors. We have a lot of our clients, you know, work via distributors, and one of the big challenges they have is how to find really good distributors. And our view is use your website, and the very best distributors find you. A good example is, for example, this company Bullman. They're a client, and they have multiple verticals. In other words, they sell to a whole bunch of different types of companies. So they often have several distributors in each market. This means that they have to continuously be searching for new distributors, even in their top market. It takes a lot of management time. They basically did a trip. They were targeting Germany. And they had really fantastic response by using their local German website to reach out and showcase their products, reach out and shout about their name and say, you know, do you want to be a distributor? Well, fill in this form. And got really fantastic results because of that. What's interesting as well is that the distributors themselves, the applicants themselves, all said, this is a company that really cares about this market. This company, this American company, really cares about and is going to support the local distributor. Therefore, I'm going to make an effort and be their distributor. The next case study I wanted to give, the next sort of best practice that I want to say, using localized websites to generate leads. And this, in a sense, goes back to what I was saying earlier about the Chinese website. Here's a company, again, it's a privately owned mid-cap company. Again, they do B2B and B2C. They have a big range of products, depending on what you do. And I think what's interesting here is that they do a lot also through trade shows, a lot also through distributors, and a lot directly to consumers. So what they've done, they used to only go via distributors. What they've now done is have a website which allows them to regroup a lot of demand and feed it back out to the distributors. This means that they maintain their brand, that they really maintain control and have a direct link with the end client, with the end consumer. So at the end of the day, they keep the database of who actually bought their products. And that's really important on a long-term view for your companies. This again is similar story in a sense. They have they're B2B, very much B2B, and they sit between a lot of different companies and very large companies. They basically sit with you know, they have OEMs that they service. So it's tough for them because they are, you know, a mid-cap company, very specialized machine company. And what's interesting for them is that they built these, actually a Spanish-speaking, I think the example I have there is a Spanish-speaking e-commerce site, which allowed them really to push and own their brand because of their client base and because of who they sell. It's really important that their brand is absolutely, you know, at the forefront. They have they could not rely on their local distributors to control their brands and nurture their brands. They had to have that control themselves in order to drive their brand forward. They found that their products were being, well, misrepresented is perhaps too strong, but certainly on a page that they would not want to see on their local distributor. They were being put next to products that they thought were not good for their brand. By owning their own online brand, by owning their online localized websites, they were able, therefore, to really push and say, this is our brand, and they were in then control of their distribution and of their brand. So now, Missouri Online Global Program. I really think this is a fantastic program that Missouri has put in place. I think Missouri companies are lucky to have Anne and her team pushing this all forward, because they have really pushed this at the forefront. You are one of 6 or 7 states at the moment in the United States who are offering this to their companies. We're seeing a lot of them lining up behind. I think this will be rolled out a lot in 2018, but right now this is really being pushed forward at the hardest level with sort of, a half dozen, and then with sort of another 5 or 6 behind. So really, Missouri is, you should really take advantage of this, take advantage of these fantastic opportunity that the Missouri International Trade Office is offering through the GMAP program. So a localized website for us, it is multilingual. So we take your content and we'll translate it. We look at the traffic analytics. We'll give you those. We'll talk about e-commerce. We'll talk about search engine optimization, so that in a sense you own, manage, and control your online space. Now let me get on to the details of that.
Susanna,
John,
should I do a quick poll there?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so please, this is the last poll. Everybody, please, are you ready? Here I go. I'm going to launch it. Now, of the many Missouri International Trade programs that were discussed earlier, they are there to help you grow your exports and develop your business. Which ones yes, we've used many of the programs for many years. We've used the programs occasionally. We're not aware of the programs, and no. So we're getting 50% are saying, yes, we've used the programs, and 50% are saying not aware of all the programs. So, well, look, thank you very much. We'll be sure to get you as much information going forward as possible so that you can take advantage of all of the many excellent programs proposed and presented by the Missouri International Trade Team. Thank you. I'm going to close that one. There we go. That's the last poll shut down. And Susanna, I'm going to hand this back to you.
Thank you very much, John. So just getting on to this option A. So this is the Missouri Online Global Program. This is the new program that's being rolled out as of today for Missouri companies to get an online program for their international business. So option A, basically, at the bottom line, costs $12,000, of which $6,000 will be reimbursed by the GMAP program. So the net effect is that you get, as a Missouri company, you get two markets website. So websites in 2 different markets, which you own the domain names. They'll be at least 12 pages long. They'll be localized. They'll be fully translated. There'll be links back to a U.S. website or U.S. e-commerce web platforms. We will set up reporting for you, give you a little bit of teaching as well in terms of Google Analytics. We will set up the content management system, access it for you, give you some training in there, and we will host it for 12 months. So in 2 markets for you. So that could be anywhere, and a fantastic sort of initiation into localized international markets. The second option, option B, is a multi-market web presence. This is really basically a very customized report. This is for a company that probably might say we have a firmer, more clear vision of what we need internationally, We don't actually need those two. We don't actually need two markets. We need more. We need less. We need one, but a bigger website. We need to have distributor access. We need to have a whole lot of social media content on it. This is part of a whole strategy. So it's a much bigger program on this. But again, Missouri International Trade and Investment Office is helping companies to get on board with option B with a $6,000 grant. So there's option A, which is a two-market entry, or option B, a multi-market web presence. Now both of these are, I think, an amazing tool for Missouri companies to use, whether it's for trade shows, helping existing distributors, finding distributors, launching new products, basically growing your international sales, business, and brand online. So one of the big questions we have is what happens after 12 months? What happens once you've got that website up there and your distributor's using it? 12 months rolls on, and speaking with Anne about this, we were delighted when Anne confirmed that Missouri is the Missouri International Trade Office is able to continue its ongoing support for exporters through the GMAP program and add an additional sort of year 2 support. And there it's going to be much more customized. It's going to be much more like, well, what do you need to do to continue hosting is basically a sort of fixed amount of about $1,000. But after that, if you're saying, well, really what we need to do, we've got this fantastic website, we're using it well, now we want to sort of, give an extra push because we're launching a new product. We need to have more social media marketing. We'll focus on that. Or else we'll say, okay, we need it, but we're now looking to see how we can best use it more, how we can drive it forward, what else we need to do. In that case, we probably need to do some analytics and more in-depth research about how it's working, what it's working, and change, perhaps update the content, refresh the content. In that case, the money is going to be dedicated to that. So again, a sort of fantastic resource that the Missouri team are offering to Missouri companies. Right. What do you do now? You basically get in touch with your local Missouri trade rep, and especially to Leslie. Her contact details are there, but she's very aware of the program and of the details, and can arrange the kickoff call and how to start the program. If you want more resources about online, about international markets, about website localization, if you're looking, for example, about what does social media look like in Europe, or what are search engines in China, we have a lot on our website which is freely available to Missouri companies, and we'd be delighted to help you. If you give us a call, we'd be delighted to help you as well. John, I hope I've left enough time also for questions. If there are any questions further, that'd be great.
There are indeed, sorry, jumping in there, and we indeed don't have much time left. So out of the questions, I can see a total of 8 questions. I'm just going to go quickly. Susanna, this one for you then. Number 1, it says, I have some Spanish pages on my US website. And indeed, I've seen that quite often in US sites. Can I use this for Spanish-speaking South America and Mexico? That was the first question. So there you go. I give it to you first.
Thank you very much. Indeed, I mean, one of the things we have when we work with a US company is they are very aware of the large number of Spanish-speaking people in the United States. I think it's like 34 million people whose mother tongue is now Spanish in the States. So they have some Spanish pages. This is great. This is fantastic. It's a great resource. These resources it can be, they shouldn't be discarded if you're looking at, say, a site in Peru or in Mexico. It's fantastic to use that, and maybe we'll have to tweak it. Basically, because if it's for, it might not be optimized for those markets. Let's say you want to, I go back to my previous example, the difference between the United States and the UK. Same language, theoretically, but people use it differently, and people connect with it differently. So even though it's translated on your website at the moment, it might not be right for what you're aiming for your target prospect market in, say, Mexico. So even if you have some Spanish language pages on your website at the moment in your Missouri website, we can take it, reuse it, repurpose it, change it, optimize it for the dedicated Spanish or Mexican or whatever it is, Spanish, South American market. I hope that helped, John.
I think it does, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the point is the Spanish Mexican sites are very specific, and it's a great place to start, but you can really go the next step to a localized site for Mexico, which brings on somebody here saying they liked what you said about option A. They would say, can you do it for Mexico and China for them? Well, can you?
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. There's no issue about where, if whatever market you are aiming for, we can handle pretty well. There's a couple of markets we've never done. We've never done North Korea, but even markets with very different alphabets. For example, China, for example, Russia, for example, UAE, the Arab alphabet, we can deal with. The difference, however, is going to be about the look of it. A Chinese website, for example, is very much, it's very in columns because of the Chinese writing. But nevertheless, we have a lot of experience in this, and option A is really very wide, very generous. It's wherever you want it to be, wherever your target export markets are.
That's good to know. Well, there you go. Please then sign up, get in touch, and let's build you your online presence for Mexico and China. I think looking at the time, we really do have to move towards a close now. So what, hang on, no, here we go, another one. A question here, and I'm going to pitch this to you, Anne, please, if you're there. This one, it says, looks like a great program, so well done, Missouri. Well, thank you for that. And indeed, from our point of view, thank you, Missouri. So somebody's saying here, how do I get started? Anne, how do they get started?
John, thank you for the question. Obviously, they can reach out to any one of the Missouri team members. Any one of our staff can assist with the program, but the team lead for us is Leslie Fisher, so it behooves them to call Leslie directly at the contact details offered previously, and have Leslie work with them directly.
And thank you very much indeed. Well, indeed, and this information will be shared with you all so we can do that follow-up. So I think that's for me now to say, Anne, thank you so much. Susanna, thank you so much. This must be the end of today's webinar. I hope that you all found the information useful, that you find lots of takeaways. And as Missouri's U.S. Congressman Willard Duncan Vandiver said back in 1899, you have got to show me. So I hope that Willard will be proud of today, proud of Missouri's online global program, because it's all about showing your company. It's about showing your products and about showing your services in your export markets. So let's go and show them. Let's go and show them with the online global program. And please, as I shut this down, there will be a survey on your screen. Please do respond. We will follow up, and I wish you a great day. And again, I want to thank Susanna. I want to thank Anne for a great job done. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye for today.